Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of Gosling Media Live. My name is Pete Gosling, and I am the CEO and founder of Gosling Media, which is a very glamorous title for a small company, but that's what it says on paper. So today we're going to be talking about content marketing, and it was the second most popular topic that was requested, and it's something that we do a lot with clients, so I'm very excited to share it with all of you guys today. So I'm going to jump over to the screen. And before we get started, just want to do a quick shout out. So I've committed myself to doing 12 weeks of these episodes, and I've put together a show schedule. So if you go to goslingmedia.com/live, you can see the content that is coming up. And so last week was starting a business, so you can watch that video if you missed it. This week is content marketing production tips. So we're going to be going through what content marketing is, why it's important, why you should care about it, and then tips to actually produce it in an efficient way and get the most ROI out of it. Next week, I'm going to be talking about hiring a designer. So I started my career, pretty much all of my career has been in-house, and there's a lot of pros and cons to having in-house designers versus working with agencies. So it's a topic I'm very interested in and passionate about, and done a lot of research when obviously I was starting Gosling Media, the benefits of in-house versus agencies. And then after that, this was the third option on the LinkedIn poll, how to make literally anything in PowerPoint. Love it or hate it. I mean, I think most people hate it, but PowerPoint is one of those things that is necessary evil in work, and it really is a very powerful piece of software that can do so much, and gets dragged through the mud a lot because it's also very easy to make rubbish stuff in PowerPoint. So you can actually make videos, sell sheets, infographics, you can do animations, you can do all kinds of stuff for marketing materials in PowerPoint. So I'll cover some of the tips and tricks for actually doing it well, but also how to make some stuff that you might not associate with PowerPoint in the first place. So back to today. Also, if you want to ask any questions or request any of the content, I'm more than happy to share anything that I talk about today. If you email live@goslingmedia.com, I'd be very happy to share the materials with you. So yeah, we'll get started now. A brief introduction into content marketing, why you should care, and tips for doing it effectively. So I did a presentation very similar to this for score.org, which was a charity that I spoke about last week that helps businesses, and I was doing a content marketing piece for them. And I left this in because I know a lot of people that I know work at bigger companies, they're like professional marketers, but if you're starting out or work at a small business, then these stats I think are quite interesting. Small businesses that blog get 126% more lead growth than small businesses that don't. I need to add a source to this. I think it was HubSpot did a survey. 70% of consumers want to learn about products through content as opposed to traditional advertising. So one of the first things you do if you're researching a new product or you need to hire someone is you do a Google search and start reading about the problem that you're trying to solve, right? So that makes a lot of sense. And 70% of all companies are actually investing in content marketing. So again, a very high percentage of businesses are already doing this. For B2B marketers, which is more our focus, there's such a broad amount of different topics and things that marketing teams do in-house or at agencies. So having content creation be the top of the list is it's quite interesting. Again, 70% of businesses are prioritizing content creation. Next is the website. I mean, your website is like the hub for all of your marketing materials and everything you produce going forward. So you want to make sure your website is good. And then this one's interesting for B2B. Events is such a huge part of marketing for B2B companies in particular. Less so over the last year, but in-person events, either conferences, trade shows, or events that you're creating and hosting yourself. It's a very powerful way of getting those leads and building relationships much more than you can just through digital marketing. So content creation, number one. So all of this is to say that it's important and you should listen. A few more stats here. I won't go through every single one of these. Like I said, email me at live@goslingmedia.com and I'll send you these slides. 86%, according to this agency's survey, have used content marketing for brand awareness. So very often B2B marketing is very driven on lead generation and more like direct response type marketing. But, you know, building your brand awareness is critically important too, and having good content that people can find. They don't know who you are, but they're finding your content, and that gets them into your system, into your funnel. Then obviously that's a great benefit. And then this is a real example of one of our clients. And the important thing with content marketing to really understand and keep in mind is that it's a long-term plan. It's not like turning on paid ads where you get an immediate response. Content marketing is all about building the foundation and growing your business organically. And you can like amplify it with paid, but really what we're going to be talking about is producing content that has a long lifespan that can live on your website. Google will find it, people will share it, and over time you want to see your organic traffic go up. So what actually is content marketing? I mean, if you start Googling for content marketing tips, you'll be overwhelmed by the number of different topics and tactics available. In my mind, content marketing really encompasses everything. You need content to do all of the other types of marketing. And content marketing in particular today, like this is called the Martech 5000. If you're familiar with it, you'll have recognized this straight away. But what this is each of these little logos represents a software vendor. And you can't really see the labels too clearly. Let me actually make this bigger. But each of these boxes is like an area of marketing that to do effective digital marketing these days, you need to be checking off all of these boxes. So interactive content, email marketing, content marketing, display, social media, sales automation and enablement, all of these different tools. And companies get overwhelmed with the amount of technology that's available. So you can get completely consumed with picking the right software. What type of software should I be getting? How do they all talk to each other? How are they being used? And that they all are, you know, good in their own way. But the thing about content marketing is that I think it's like the number one investment that people should make, especially if you're small and starting out, because it just spans everything. So you can use the content you produce across all channels using all of these different technology platforms. The core content that you're producing doesn't care about the technology. Added to this, advertising, it's just people are becoming numb to it or blind to it. There's just so many ads. It's impossible to, unless you're spending huge amounts of money, it's impossible to consistently get that volume and that high impact that you need. So unless your budgets are huge, paid media can be very difficult. But again, content lets you avoid that. You can promote your content with paid media, but the real driver is people are finding you and getting interested into your service or business because they're finding and reading your content or watching your content. So there's the SEO, like the search engine benefits. There's the branding benefits, because obviously you can brand your content and talk about it in your own way. And also it establishes you as a thought leader. I hate the term thought leadership, but it's basically if you're writing about how to design a website and someone needs a website designed, if they're reading the blog, they're like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Maybe I'll talk to them. So again, content marketing has many different definitions. There is actually a Content Marketing Institute. It's a for-profit thing, I believe, but institute can be, well, I shouldn't say that, I'm not sure actually. But the Content Marketing Institute defines content marketing this way, which is a heck of a sentence. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. Awful. I wouldn't ever write a sentence like that, and I'm not a writer, but the thing to take away from this is you want to be creating valuable, so it's not just junk. You want to make stuff that you've put time and effort and has value to it. It's got to be relevant, of course. You want the content you're producing to answer questions that the person has or they find interesting or entertaining. Consistency is so important in everything to do with marketing, from branding, how things look, to how you talk about things, to the timing of stuff. You know, I'm committing to do this every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Consistency is really key. It's so important. And a clearly defined audience ties in with the relevance. So you want to make sure that you know who you're talking to. Last week talked very briefly about ideal customer profiles. You want to do the diligence and research on who it is that you're targeting, so that the content you're producing resonates and is relevant to that defined audience. And this is nothing new. Content marketing has been around for decades, centuries even. I love this example. Basically, John Deere, the tractor manufacturer, back in 1897, was doing content marketing. They were producing this journal, and it's targeted to farmers, and it's talking about farmer related stuff, news and updates. And it's brought to you by John Deere, but it's called The Furrow, and there's very little mention or branding for John Deere. I mean, obviously there's pieces to it, and it's still going today. So there's still a website called The Furrow back in 2021. And it's basically the same idea. They're producing content that is relevant and interesting to their target audience. So they're building credibility and trust with the content. Another modern example, I mean, there's thousands of examples. Big budget example that you might have seen TV ads for comes from Dove. They've been investing a huge amount into promoting self-confidence and highlighting the negative effects that the modern media has on representations of beauty, which is a very lofty topic for, you know, they sell soap, like they sell bars of soap, but they're talking about things from this really much higher level with a much higher like emotional connection with their audience. And it works. Like, these guys are consistently doing campaigns like this. It doesn't feel like they're jumping on a bandwagon or being opportunistic. They're authentic with it, and they provide a huge value to their community as well. They like back it up with outreach and things that they're doing beyond just the advertising part. So very good in-depth content, and yeah, they're not sort of a instant thought of content marketing, but this is absolutely content marketing. Another one, so this company is 24slides.com. They basically offer design services for presentations. So their business model is people who struggle with PowerPoint or don't have time or inclination to put a presentation together. Someone will submit their PowerPoint file, and then these guys will design it for them and send it back. That's how they make money. But they have a section on their site where they've got hundreds of PowerPoint templates available completely for free. So you can just go download a template, and do it yourself. They don't make any money from that, which at first sounds crazy, right? Surely they're cannibalizing their business by giving the templates away for free. But they're doing this for several reasons. And if you look at their search traffic, you'll see that this page gets 17,000 visits in 1 month from Google. So it's a huge magnet. You might hear the term lead magnet, because in order to download the template, you're giving them your email address, your information in one way or another. So they've had 17,000, almost 18,000 a month coming to this page to access the content. Only a handful of people maybe turn into customers, but it's still such an amazing, powerful draw that it would be absolutely worth the time and effort that it takes to produce these templates and put it out there for free. So lots of benefits of giving away content for free. SEO. So don't want to spend too much time on SEO, but basically it's search engine optimization, and you need fresh, consistent, relevant content added to your website for Google to find and index your site. So it's a whole industry, it's a massive industry. People, like teams of people, do this full time. But really what you need to know is if you're doing content marketing and you're doing the research that we'll talk about in a minute, it will help your website's SEO. Lead generation, as we just talked about. You can use it as an opportunity to answer questions. So if someone isn't ready to talk to a salesperson, but they're interested, you can produce content that answers any of the questions that they might have, so that when a salesperson is talking to them, they've already answered those basic questions and they're a warmer lead for the salesperson. And getting email addresses to continue marketing to them. So it's very common for the piece of content to be what they call gated behind a lead form. So you submit the form, you get an email that includes the content, and then once you have that email address, you can continue marketing to them with drip or nurture email campaigns. So I'm trying to do the same here, right? Email live@goslingmedia.com. I'll follow up, and who knows, maybe in the future we'll work together. But the basic idea is you're providing something of value for free in exchange for their email, their contact information, all of the benefits of SEO, building trust, all of that happens anyway. But the lead generation aspect is the extra piece that for the very small percentage of people that are visiting the site that could turn into customers, it's really worth it. And brand awareness. So it's very difficult to get your brand out there. Again, if you're not spending millions of dollars in advertising, then it's very, very difficult for people to find your business and, build up your brand. So producing content gives visibility to people that wouldn't normally see your business. You can talk about how your product and service works, like your offering, through the content. You don't need it to be salesy, but in the content you're producing, you can, of course, reference what your product is. And as I said before, prove that you're an expert whilst building trust with your audience. So all of these are amazing benefits that highly recommend making content. So that was all basically validating why I'm talking about content marketing, like why it's important, why so many people are doing it. So how do you do it? I mean, content covers a huge spectrum. I mean, writing a tweet, writing a blog post is content. Just sharing a photo on Instagram, that's content. Everything that you're producing and putting out there from your business is content. So I break it down into 3 main steps, and I can't go too deep on each, but maybe I'll do a follow-up if people are interested. So number 1 is obviously critical. I say obviously, a lot of people try and just jump straight in because they don't have time, but you absolutely have to do the research to figure out what content you should be producing and who you should be producing it for. So if you're an existing business and you have a website that's been around for a while, you can start off by looking at your analytics. So look at what blog posts have been performing the best, what content people have been sharing the most, and try and understand why that might be, and then do more of it, right? So amplify what's working, or expand and amplify what's working. So do more of it. Maybe it's a similar topics that you can cross promote, and do more of what's working. And then for both existing and new sites, identify target audience. So you have to really do this frequently. This is not something you do at the start when you start your business and then 10 years later it's still the same. This is something I'm continuously iterating on, and because your company changes, so the types of clients that you're serving might change over time as you grow. Your product and service offering might change, so you need to be continuously identifying who it is you're talking to, figuring out what the problem is that you're solving for them, and then trying to answer their problems or questions with content before they become a customer. I'll talk a little bit more about specifically how to do that in a second. And then of course there's amazing tools available for keyword research. So the incredible thing about search engines is it's all logged. There's ways to find that information, what are people searching for, and base your content around that. So when it comes to choosing the content, I'm just going to jump over to this little guy actually. I see it in like almost like a Venn diagram. So on one side, it's what you want to be known for. So what is it that you want people to think of in association with your business? What is it that you want to put out to the world? What is it you're passionate about? What characteristics or values do you have that you want people to think of when they think of your business? And then this circle is what people are looking for. So this is the keyword research. What is it that already has an audience or already has some kind of level of activity that you can jump onto? So the sweet spot is here. This is where you should be producing the content. So it's representing your brand, what I want to be known for, but also what people are looking for. So let's go a bit more detail into how to do that. So there's a lot of really awesome technology platforms for SEO and content research, and the audience research and all of these things. One I really like is called Ubersuggest. They have a completely free option that gives you plenty of functionality for doing what we're talking about here. You can basically insert a URL and basically put your web address in, and the tool will do a lot of things. It can run a technical audit of your site to make sure that all of your pages are built and running the way that Google wants them to or expects them to when it's searching the site. I need to do a topic, maybe a weekly topic on SEO, but there's two main parts for search engine optimization. So there's the technical side, which is your website and how it's built, and the underlying, what they call meta tags, the meta information. It's the stuff that's on the page that you as a user don't see, but the browser, the Google crawler, the spider, the whatever software is indexing your site for the search engine uses that meta information. So title tags, image alt tags, meta descriptions. There's a lot of research out there that helps you with this. If you just Google SEO, technical SEO, you'll get all kinds of stuff. But also things like, is the page rendering well on mobile? Is it fast? There's debate as to how important page speed is, but basically Google's algorithm changes like thousands of times a year, it's pointless trying to game the algorithm with the technical stuff. You really just need to be focusing on making sure that it's easy to navigate, easy to read and view, and like the user experience is what they're trying to optimize for. So Google's search engine results, they say they're optimizing for content that is good quality from a reputable source, but also that the website is a good experience for the user. So the technical side, if you just plug your URL into Ubersuggest, it will basically give you a list of things to fix. It's amazing. Then on the content side, content for SEO is everything we've been talking about so far. It can show you what keywords you're already ranking for. Zoom in on here. So this was using that 24slides.com I mentioned earlier. You can see the traffic on the right here. You can see the pages that have the most traffic. But you can also see the SEO keywords that they are showing up for. So PowerPoint template free is their top one. Volume is how many times that search is done a month. So there's been 74,000 searches a month for that keyword phrase. And position is 9. That means that they are 9th on the page of the search results. Presentation time, their third one, has much less volume, about 3,000, but they're in position number 1. So there's more metrics like click-through rates and things like that, that if you own the website, this is all information that you can get about any website. You could plug any URL in Ubersuggest and get this high-level data. If you own the website, using tools like Google Search Console will give you much more data, and Google Analytics and things you can really dig in. So Ubersuggest is a great starting point. Next up is personas. So this goes hand in hand. Who are you talking to? What do they care about? I'm including HubSpot's tool on here just because it's a very, very quick and efficient way of making a persona. They have this little wizard that walks you through the steps and generates a persona profile for you. And a persona, like marketing persona, you're trying to identify the characteristics, like as many data points as you can about the person you're trying to sell to. Even like coming up with like a fake name. They're 28 years old, live in the city, don't have kids, college educated, love Starbucks. You're trying to sort of like build a picture of this person so that when you're doing your messaging to them, or your marketing as a whole to them, you can picture who it is that you're going after, and that really just helps you figure out what it is that you should be doing. This one I mentioned last week. I don't get any kind of referral fee. I should try and set up some kind of affiliate with this dude because I've recommended it so much. But once you've figured out the keywords, the types of things that you want to be creating, you figured out the persona, you figured out who you're talking to, what is the story you're trying to tell them? So this framework, I use it with all clients as part of onboarding. I just love the way that it breaks it down. It makes you think about target audience, what problem you're solving, how you're going to solve it, why they should trust you, how they get started. All of these things that if you ask them those blunt questions would be hard to answer. But because it's done in this framework of if your business was a movie, it really just sort of like unlocks the creativity a lot. And this is, oh, my lights just went out. Beautiful. There we go. Live TV, folks. So this is the marketing funnel. I'm not going to spend long on this at all, but if you're just starting out, don't worry too much about this, but ideally you want to be making content that is at each stage of what they call the funnel. So at the top of the funnel, it's people that haven't heard of you before. They're maybe not sure they have a problem yet. It's that awareness stage. And then the steps below, it's like, okay, they have identified something that they want to buy, and they're looking at a few different businesses, going down to actually making the sale. So ideally, you can make content that fulfills each step of that funnel. I'm going to leave the little light off. It's what you get for buying cheap stuff on Amazon. So for content marketing, you can do it on a budget, but there's obviously times where if you do it on a budget, it's not as good as it could be. Moving on, this is a worksheet that I use with clients. So I've mentioned a couple of times about this idea of answering questions with content. So this worksheet is great. So once you've defined your persona, you're thinking about the stages of the funnel, you can brainstorm what problems and questions that these personas would have at each stage, and then use that to generate ideas for content. And the two columns on the right gives you the formats that you can use. These are just thought starters, but these are typical formats that are good for these different types of content. And then distribution is another huge topic, but basically there's dozens of different ways you can distribute the content you're producing. So there's some thought starters there. So again, I'm gonna shout out, email me live@goslingmedia.com, and I'd be happy to share this worksheet with you. So the keyword research, I've included here just a little bit more details. So before, with the Uber Suggest tool, it was looking at your website, looking at what's performing, doing research that way. This lets you actually put in a specific keyword. So how to register a new business, for example. Maybe you want to write topic, maybe you're a lawyer who helps businesses get formed and you want to write about that. So you put in the keyword at the top, and then it gives you the volume, so how many people have searched for that phrase. The CPC is if you wanted to pay. So CPC is cost per click, which is basically Google paid search. They also call it PPC, pay per click. But what they're talking about here is those types of ad campaigns. You pay when someone clicks on the ad. You're not paying for the impression, the ad being displayed. You only pay if someone clicks on it. So here, how to register a new business, the cost per click would be $6.49 roughly. Paid difficulty is out of 100, so that's saying 59. So, it's slightly above the median for how difficult it is. And then SEO difficulty is separate to paid. It's just how hard is it to index for. If you're writing content for this topic, how competitive is it? How many other people are trying to do the same thing? So how to register a new business has a low SEO difficulty, but how to register a business on Google is a much higher with 83, and you can see the cost per click is 10 times higher at $61. So you want to be finding keywords that, still have enough volume, but aren't saturated by other people. They're not basically in the red here or crazy high here. So the keyword research at this stage is really, you want to include these keywords in what you're producing to help with the SEO performance. Okay, so that was a lot on research. Moving on to production. This is a passion fruit seltzer. It's delicious. Production. So how do you produce this content? So this slide is, again, something I use with clients all the time. I just love it because Disney himself drew this back in the 50s, I think. And everyone knows how Disney has mastered the art of merchandising and taking one thing and splitting it up into a million spin-offs. But it's such a conscious decision that they made, and you'll see here, so in the middle is the creative talent or studio. So this is like the IP, the intellectual property, so Frozen, for example. And then there's the film, but there's also the music, soundtrack, there's TV spin-offs, merchandising, there's the theme parks. But it's not just one direction. It's not just promoting. It's not just you see the film, I want to buy the merchandise. It goes both ways. So maybe you hear the music, the soundtrack, but you've not seen the film. It drives both ways. So you're cross-pollinating all of these different media formats. So doing the same thing basically for your marketing is definitely something that we recommend and do with our clients. So you want to produce a high value piece of content. So whether that's like writing a white paper, producing a video, whatever it might be, and then from that core piece of content, you want to repurpose it into lots of different formats. So you can produce and repurpose content into multiple formats. So maybe write a blog post about how to register an LLC, take that content and turn it into a downloadable checklist, or maybe a video, and make an infographic, and so on. And then you can distribute it across many different types of channels. But this grid on the right is basically a guide to help you choose the types of content that you want to produce. So depending on whether you're trying to educate people or entertain or get them to purchase something, there's different formats of content that work better than others. So this is a great guide from smartinsights.com. I'm a big fan of their work, and it's just a nice little cheat sheet. So if you know that you're producing something lower funnel, which is much more towards the conversion, right? They want to be making that sale. Things like price guides, calculators, checklists work really well. Whereas if it's higher in the process, you're just trying to get that awareness piece, then quizzes, videos, infographics, things like that work a lot better. So one way that you could think of this, let me make this bigger, is if this video I'm producing right now, if you imagine, well, you don't need to imagine, this video I'm producing right now, the reason I'm doing it, yes, the live streaming is fun and cool and want people to come and see it, but the main thing is for my own marketing, this is what I'm planning on doing. So have the main video. So this is the main video right here. Looks like nothing is wanting to work today. All right, I'm back. So my laptop just lost connection. So I've lost the light and I've lost the laptop. Basically what I was going to say was, I actually have a sketch of it that I was mapping out before I started. So I can pull that up. Here. So what I was going to sketch out was basically, if you imagine this video, this is the main video at the top. From this content, so say it's like 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, I then plan on cutting it up into a series of 5-minute videos. Then those short videos, these 5-minute videos, can then be cut up into like 15 and 30-second promo videos that can drive back to the main video or elsewhere. At the same time, the dialogue, like the words I'm saying, can be transcribed. There's software that can do it automatically, or you can send it to a company to transcribe. You can then take that text and turn it into blog posts, or even an ebook that you package as a PDF and have that as some lead gen content. And maybe that then becomes an infographic. So from that ebook, you're like extracting pieces out, make it in a visual way and produce an infographic. which can then be cut up into small social tiles. So you can promote any of these things with pieces from that infographic that you're sharing on social. So you can produce dozens of pieces of content from one primary piece of content. So this video, split into small videos, take the text, break that up. It could even be converted to a podcast, right? Taking the audio only. So there's a ton of ways to repurpose the content from your primary source of content. And that's how you really get that ROI, like that return on investment, because the initial cost of producing that big piece of content is pretty high. And if you only make one thing, you just push it out and it's just one asset, it's very hard to earn back the amount of, the investment that you took. But if you're breaking it up into dozens of formats, then it's much easier to return that. And you get to put it on more channels, get more exposure, and there we go. So that's the Disney method of content marketing. So I wanted to include a couple of tips for writing because I'm definitely not a writer. So on the left, Grammarly.com is a wonderful tool if you're writing it yourself. It's amazing for it's like a spell checker on steroids. You think about the grammar and spelling checker in Word, it's just like a much more intelligent web-based version of that. It's really great. If you don't want to be writing it, a lot of people don't even sort of entertain the idea of outsourcing it, but it doesn't cost as much as you might think. And the services like the Hoff, don't know why it's called that, but pretty affordable. They will write content for you, so you basically provide them the topic, these are the bullet points, these are the things I want to cover, and then they have basically a network of freelance writers who will put it together for you. For design, so we're not all graphic designers, of course, so you've probably heard of Canva. There's a number of different software platforms these days where you don't need Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator anymore. The capabilities that people have in these web browser-based software or SaaS platforms, it's incredible. Like, you can produce pretty much anything you would ever need on a platform like Canva. Again, if you don't want to do it yourself and you want to outsource it, I mean, Upwork.com, there's pros and cons to these marketplaces. They have huge numbers of designers. I'm actually going to talk about this next week in the episode, thinking about hiring a designer, because there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen too when you're talking to, potentially thousands of people. You put a job posting up. There's a lot of, shall we say, I was going to say charlatans. I think that's the right use of the word. Basically, it's very easy to call yourself a designer. Anyone can sign up for a Canva or download a trial of Photoshop, put something together. Maybe they spun up their own Squarespace site and now they're calling themselves a web designer. But on the other hand, there are amazing people on Upwork too. So it's a great resource for finding talent. So it's definitely worth a try, but I would say be careful with it and just make sure that you're really checking the work of the people that you're hiring. So for video production, I mean, I'm doing it right now. I do have some nicer tools. The light stopped working, so I don't have the best tools, as you can see. But really, today's cell phones, even your laptop that you use every day with Zoom calls, it's by far the easiest, fastest, most budget-friendly way to make video. I mean, your phone is always with you. You can capture thoughts or footage at any moment. And using Zoom, we've done video production literally with clients through Zoom. So whether it's a client testimonial video, or we even did a 30-second commercial where we had professional actors on Zoom. And you can get very creative with it. And then once you edit it together, you can make it really polished. So just a couple of quick tips here. I mean, so if you are doing it yourself, use a microphone. I'd say that's the number one piece of advice. The microphones in the phones, they're fine, but they'll pick up a lot of background noise. So even the little microphone that comes on the headset, the earbuds, or if you've got the AirPods, even that is much better. I mean, if you're watching news programs, you'll often see the people being interviewed wearing the headset. That's why they're doing that, because the microphone is better than what's in their laptop. The next one, film horizontally. I mean, if you're focused on Instagram stories or Snapchat, TikTok, those more modern, younger audiences, then vertical is acceptable and, you know, preferred. Usually though, I would always recommend you film horizontally, because if you're embedding it on your web page or it's viewed in more traditional formats, you'll see like the black bars if you do it vertically. There's creative ways around it, but I would recommend filming horizontally unless you're doing it specifically for a channel that displays it in portrait. Anyone that knows me knows I don't have the steadiest hand, so using a tripod is really a must. So you can get tripods and stands so cheap, very, very quick, easy, convenient little portable tripods, so really is worth the effort. And like I was saying, Zoom, like the webcams that all like new laptops and most webcams you buy, they're like HD quality, more than enough for putting together quick little videos or whatever it is that you need to make. So basically, yeah, you can make video very affordably these days. It's not the high barrier to entry format that it used to be, and it's an important channel. That's why I'm doing it, right? That's why I'm making these videos, because you can repurpose it, as I was saying before. You can take the audio, you can transcribe it, you can convert it, you can make short social clips out of it. So it's a great way of building a baseline of content. You'll often need images, so if you're doing like the promotional, like the ad units for it, or just in the videos themselves, or the blog post, whatever it is you're producing, don't use Google Images. There's plenty of places where you can go and get free images that are free for commercial use. So you can see Pexels and Unsplash are my two preferred. Unsplash though, it's funny, that's the problem with, I guess the problem with free stock pictures is there's some pictures on Unsplash that I'm starting to recognize all over the place. So you'll see a cool picture and you want to use it, but then some other company might be using it too. So, you know, paid photography might be justified depending on the level of quality that you're going after. But these are great for pulling together free images. Similarly, free music. So you don't want to be using music from Spotify. YouTube has got really good at detecting and removing videos that have copyrighted music. So YouTube actually has a free audio library. There's other services too, but it's actually really good. You can just pull down any, you can search by the type of music that you're looking for and then download it and use it completely freely. So that's producing. Obviously there's much more to it, but you've researched who you're talking to, what it is they care about. You've done the keyword research, you've produced the content, but now you got to make sure people see it. And it's tricky, right? You really do need to invest just as much in the promotion of it as you do the production of it. So like I said at the start, I've committed to doing like a 12-week series, for lack of a better word. So each week I'm going to be doing a different topic. Advertising and promotion is definitely something that will come up. So just very quickly here, another graphic from Smart Insights that I really like. This shows you basically different channels and when they're effective to be used. So B2B, obviously LinkedIn is the social network of choice, but Facebook, you know, if you're targeting the right people, they're on Facebook too. Just because LinkedIn is business focused doesn't mean Facebook isn't worth promoting your content on as well. So number one, your website. At the beginning, we said how important your website is. It really is like the core hub of all of your marketing. So make sure that your content is easy to find on your website and your blog. Post it on all your social channels, of course. You can repost on LinkedIn and medium.com and have a link at the bottom to your website where they can see the full. Like you could put maybe half the article and then link to your site, or just put the whole thing on LinkedIn. The great thing about those platforms is there's the built-in audience. So if you put your blog post on LinkedIn, LinkedIn prioritizes the long-form content in the feeds because they want people engaging on LinkedIn. Same with video content. So if you're posting on LinkedIn and you just have a link to your blog, it's not going to do as well as if you put the blog post actually on LinkedIn. Send via email. I mean, you want to be building out your email list. So that's the sort of long-term play, is building out your own email list. So email me live@goslingmedia.com and I'll add you to my email list so that you can hear about future updates. Guest posting on other blogs is a very powerful one. The benefit there is you get someone else's audience, so you're expanding your audience. They can link to your site, which is great for SEO, like they're called backlinks. And people, especially like news sites or like industry newsletter type websites, are always desperate for content. So if you reach out to them and say, hey, we've got some content we think your audience might like, and just ask them if they'll let you do a guest post. Video, again, so YouTube is actually the second largest search engine. So posting videos on YouTube is a no-brainer. Promoting with paid ads, I said this, I think at the start of the video, where it's incredibly effective. You can get a lot of traffic very easily using paid ads, but focus on your own content and channels. So your website, your social media, get everything really solid and strong before spending money on paid. Because, you know, if you're driving traffic to your website and your website sucks, then you're wasting money. Repurpose, cut, edit. Can't stress that enough, how you can just milk one piece of content into so many different ways. And you can post more than once. One thing that a lot of people do is they'll write a blog post, they'll post it on social media, and then they're on to the next one. But, you know, most blog posts have a shelf life of a year or so, unless it's like a very time-sensitive topic. Most blog posts, when we're doing it for clients, we will set up social posts for about 6 months, where it's just like a couple of posts across a 6-month period. You just use a social scheduling tool and you just get much more life out of that blog post. And then in the future, say in a year's time or 2 years' time, go back through all of your blog posts, look in Google Analytics at what's been performing the best, and you can repost, right? You can refresh the topic, make some updates, and reshare it. So the content doesn't have to be completely new, original content every time. I'll share this if you want. If anyone wants to get this presentation deck, I'm more than happy to share it. There's so much more about each of these topics that I will save for other weeks. But the secret to content marketing really is there's no secret, right? It's the consistency. You need to be putting out content frequently. Make sure that your branding is consistent and the way you talk about things is consistent. Persistence. You know, despite what you might see online, there's no real silver bullet. There's very tried and tested practices that you can follow, such as content marketing, and just be persistent with it, and patience. So it's not something that you're going to get immediate response from. If you don't get 1,000 views on your first video, don't give up. Like, it can take months or years. I mean, I'm just starting this now. I'll probably get like 2 views. That's not really the point. The reason I'm doing this is to start building a community, hopefully, building a foundation, but also the repurposing of the content. So doing these live streams is great, but my plan is to then take this content, break it down into smaller chunks, turn it into different formats, and post it on different mediums over the next 6 months, 12 months. So it's not just a one and done situation. There we go. All right, well, I had a couple of technical issues and the light went out. I lost my laptop for a second, but overall, I hope you enjoyed it and look forward to next week. Next week, we will be talking about, let me jump back here. So if you go to goslingmedia.com/live, I've got a show schedule there, so all of the recordings are going to be posted on this page. So every Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to be doing this live stream, and I've got the schedule of topics coming up. We've got a couple of interviews with people, which I'm very excited for. So hopefully you get to stop by and watch it.